Welcome back to another console collector video. Hey everybody, console collector here. Today we're going to take a look at the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES or SNES. Now we're not going to just look at the consoles themselves, but also their redesigns that came out later in their life. So to start off, let's talk about the original Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, the classic trapdoor version. It's got the two-tone body, as you can see here, your power, reset, two controller ports. Got your RF in, channel 3 and 4 switch, the AC adapter, composite video, and single mono audio. This is the most classic Nintendo that most people in North America are familiar with. It came with this iconic controller, the one that digs into your fingers for when you have extended play sessions. But you got your D-pad, select, start, B and A, and pretty basic design. So that's the one that everybody knows, and it came in a variety of sets. This is one set that was packed in with Super Mario Bros. 3 and two controllers. This was the challenge set. I know there was a Rob set and a sports set. There's the basic set. I know there's a power pad set. So lots of different variations, but they were all this design of the console. So later on, it got a redesign, and it's commonly known as the top loader, but its official name, I believe, was the NES control deck, which you can see it has quite a different design. So this is the box right there, but let's take a look at the actual system. This is the top loader control deck. Nintendo stamp there. Power, reset, no LED. Got your controller ports. This one is RF out, no composite. Same channel switch and RCA. There's the bottom there. Vents and top loader game. I personally prefer this NES because games read a lot easier. The other one, you know, you got the whole pin connector issue. So for a size comparison, you can see what a difference it is. Quite smaller, actually, and almost the same length, but not quite. Now, as you know, it came with this controller for the original version, but they also redesigned the top loader controller to be the dog bone controller shape. This one is really comfortable, easy to hold. It's very similar to the Super Nintendo controller, as you can see here. A little smaller, but similar. So top loader came with the dog bone controller, and then the classic square controller with that one. So that's the NES, and its only other version or redesign it got in North America. Not like today where you have these PlayStation Slims and PlayStation Fats and PlayStation Pros and all that jazz. So that's the NES. Let's talk about the super iconic Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This here is a pretty standard set. You got your controllers, or two controllers, the console and Super Mario World, which almost every console came packed into a Super Mario World. They did sell separately, but most of them came packed in with Super Mario World. That's the box for the Super Nintendo. Here is the actual console itself. You got your power button, reset, eject, game goes in there. Two controller ports, your LED power light, RF, there's your composite out, power, channel switch. It's an expansion port that was never actually officially used. Now, one thing to note about the Super Nintendo is these tend to break, the little plastic around the connector, and it can be a fire hazard, I guess. A lot of these systems ended up turning yellow. It was just the type of plastic they used, so I'm fortunate enough to still have a nice gray one. Now, the Super Nintendo came with a controller. Very classic. This is when they introduced the two shoulder buttons. You got your X and Y, B and A, start, select, and the D-pad. Very comfortable, great for long play sessions. Now, like the NES, the Super NES got a redesign as well, which this one not a lot of people know about as much as the top loader. And I am talking about the Super NES control deck. This one commonly is known as the SNES Mini. Not the new SNES Mini, but for years this was known as the SNES Mini. It's a miniature version of the Super Nintendo. Very lightweight, very basic, no LED. So got your power, reset, top loading port there, got some vents, and then no RF out on this one, but you got your power and your composite out. It's pretty slim, sleek looking little unit. One thing about the SNES Mini or SNES control deck is it came with a slightly different controller. If you look at the original controller here, has Super Nintendo imprinted right there. The SNES Mini or control deck actually has Nintendo stamped into the controller, and the back is also different. It has the Famicom, Super Famicom kind of logo right there in there, opposed to the standard Nintendo stamping there. So there is a slight difference, basically being that the markings here. Also, these buttons are stamped in. These are just printed, so you'll see a lot of the times that the L and R will wear off, where these are actually molded into the plastic so they don't wear off. So if you see these controllers, they're actually more rare, so pick them up. They do go with the SNES Mini or SNES control deck. Now, this actual version came out really late in the Super Nintendo's life. I believe the N64 was actually already launched when these were still coming out, and they had a ton of box variants for those. Like this one here came with a bonus controller. I've seen ones packed in with Yoshi's Island and Kirby Superstar, A Link to the Past, things like that. So a lot of these different box variations. I have the extra controller box and just the standard box. So that's the Super NES control deck or Mini. As a little bonus, I wanted to just show these variations of the systems, which most people probably are aware of. The NES Classic Edition and the Super NES Classic Edition. Now, these are emulation software. They're not technically the consoles, but they are the NES and the Super NES. Now, these are like super micro versions of the systems, as you can see there. If we compare them, you can just see how small they are. So, quite a difference. There are some of these like bootleg ones out there. I personally do not like them. I actually really like these. The SNES and SNES and NES classics, because I was able to mod mine and add a lot more games. And it's more just convenience, honestly, than having to put wear and tear on my own personal carts and original carts. Now, they did get the controllers re-released as well. By looking at these two, pretty hard to tell which is which, right? Other one's a little cleaner. The controllers that came with the SNES Classic and NES Classics are great. You can see here the plug difference. I really personally can't feel a difference. They're identical. They feel great. They feel like originals. When I'm playing my NES Classic or SNES Classic, it feels like I'm playing the real thing. So it's a really good, cheap alternative to having all the original hardware. Nothing beats the original hardware there. Oh, nothing will beat the original hardware, of course. I will say that. It's just, these are convenient for easy pick up and play with my kids or family. And just to show that, here's the two SNES controllers. This one being the SNES Classic, this one being the original. Same deal, feels great. They did a great job recreating the controllers. Now, I just wanted to talk about another cool little bonus item. Get these out of the way. The 3DS and the new 3DS. Nintendo, kind of playing on the nostalgic thing going on here, released a Nintendo 3DS XL with the original NES controller art on it. Now this is the original 3DS XL, so it's not the new one, but it's a cool collectible as well. And then obviously this one came out fairly recently, the new 3DS XL with the Super Nintendo print on it. Really cool homage to the classic consoles. So just wanted to include those in this video. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. There wasn't much for variations for these consoles, not like today, but they did have redesigns, and I just wanted to share that with you guys today. So I personally prefer the redesign on the NES, the top loader, just because it's easier to get games to read. And as for the Super Nintendo redesign, I actually prefer the original hardware on that. What do you guys prefer? I'd like to know. The redesign, the original, or heck, even the classic editions. Let me know in the comments. So that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank everybody for watching. And I am the console collector. And until the next video, happy gaming.